What's going on, guys? JStar15 here and welcome back to another Pokemon Sun and Moon episode review. Last week we had the finals, Ash vs Gladion, and Ash managed to take his first ever Pokemon League victory. But then, during the ceremony, the Ultra Beast Guzzlord fell out of an Ultra Wormhole, interrupting the ceremony. But what will happen in this episode? Will Guzzlord destroy the entire planet like it did with the alternate world? Will Ash and his friends be able to take it down? Will we see hundreds and hundreds of Z-moves in this episode? If you want to find out what happens in this episode, stick around because we are going through it now. This week's episode is episode 140, Guzzlord Invades, a Grand Z-Move Showdown. With the arrival of Guzzlord, it means that the stadium is being evacuated. While Lusamine is telling everyone to get out, we can see how big Guzzlord actually is compared to the stadium, and compared to Ash and his friends, compared to everything. It is huge. Guzzlord then starts to eat parts of the stadium, but then, all of a sudden, a giant robot Beware digs up from below the stadium, but is knocked down by Guzzlord. As Ash and his friends are preparing to battle Guzzlord, the Kahunas join, which is good because it means they're going to get some more power on their team. Ash tells the Kahunas that he knows the weak spot as he's fought it before. We then get to see a flashback to when Ash and Dyer fought it in the alternate world. Anyway, the robot Beware tries to attack Guzzlord, but doesn't really do any damage to it. Guzzlord then retaliates by throwing the robot Beware into the air and opening its mouth, getting ready to eat it. But before it gets eaten, the real Beware shows up and immediately throws Guzzlord into the air away from everybody else. Really shows how powerful Beware actually is. We then get to see still images of people evacuating right before Professor Burnett gets another reading of an Ultra Wormhole opening up. And this time, another Guzzlord falls out, but this one is a little bit different. It's not a normal Guzzlord, it's a shiny one. And that's not the last Guzzlord we get to see, as when we pan to the evacuation boats, another Ultra Wormhole opens up, and another shiny Guzzlord comes out. But this one is absolutely huge. Panning back to the normal Guzzlord that's getting absolutely destroyed by Beware, well, it was getting destroyed until Beware started to protect Stuffle, and now the roles have been switched. But luckily, before there is any damage done to Beware, Team Rocket in their Robot Beware decides to jump in. But instead of having an awesome team up with the Robot Beware and normal Beware against Guzzlord, Team Rocket pick up Beware and Stuffle and fly away. Pretty disappointing there. I really wanted Beware and Guzzlord to go at it properly. Anyway, with Team Rocket and Beware retreating, it looks like it's now down to the Kahunas to deal with this Guzzlord. Moving across to Team B, who consists of Kiawe, Gladion and How, trying to attack Guzzlord's weak spot with all different moves. But they're not having great luck, so they come up with a plan. How's Decidueye uses Spirit Shackle to trap one of the arms, Kiawe's Turtonator uses Focus Blast to distract the other arm, and Gladion tries to use a Z-move, but Guzzlord pushes them back. Luckily, the girls and Sophocles are there to save them. Back to the Kahunas, who are managing to hold off the original Guzzlord, but they're not doing enough damage and not pushing it back far enough. But luckily, help has arrived. And it's none other than the island legendaries, Tapu Koko, Tapu Lele, Tapu Bulu, and Tapu Fini. The Tapus then use some sort of move to hold Guzzlord in place, a bit like a reverse protect. As they're protecting themselves, they put a big bubble around Guzzlord and stops it from moving. The reason they've done this is so that the Kahunas can go for their Z moves. Hela uses All Out Pummeling with Hariyama, Olivia uses Continental Crush with Midday Lycanroc, Nanu uses Black Hole Eclipse with Alolan Persian, Hapu uses Tectonic Rage with Mudsdale. The Z-moves all fly at Guzzlord and manage to launch it into the air, back into its wormhole. That means one down, two more to go. Moving back to Team B, who now have 7 members, and they all decide to go for their Z-move. Get ready for this big list. Gladion and Midnight Lycanroc use Devastating Drake, Kiawe and Turtonator use Inferno Overdrive, How and Decidueye use Sinister Arrow Raid, Lily and Vulpix use Sub-Zero Slammer, Mallow and Sarina use Bloom Doom, Liner and Primarina use Oceanic Operetta, and finally Sophocles and Vikavolt use Savage Spin Out. All of the Z-moves fly towards Guzzlord and combine together to make one big powerful Z-move. They land on Guzzlord, pushing it back into the wormhole. Now the only one that's left is the giant one. Ash and Pikachu are teaming up with the Mask Royale, who is using a Lucario, which I think is pretty cool. I'm a big fan of Lucario, and it's nice to see that the Mask Royale has a Lucario. Pikachu and Lucario use a few different moves and manage to push Guzzlord back towards the hole, but it's not far enough as Guzzlord does come back out, and with one move it destroys and knocks out Lucario, showing how powerful this Guzzlord is. But then the Ultra Wormhole closes, and as all hope seems lost, a crack in the sky opens up and a Naganadel comes flying out of it. Turns out that this Naganadel has evolved from the Poipole Ash used to have. It's always good to see characters and Pokemon returning from past episodes. Anyway, Naganadel teams up with the Mask Royale, and Ash, Pikachu, Mask Royale and Naganadel fire their Z-moves. Gigavolt Havoc. The powerful move flies towards Guzzlord, sending it back into its wormhole. As the Z-move is happening though, the Mask Royale's mask tears off and exposes his true identity as Professor Kukui. But anyway, with that being said, that is where the episode ended. So there we go, that is another episode covered. The Pokemon League is now finished, but we've still got the remaining episodes to cover, and I feel like we're going to have quite a few more episodes yet. What did you guys think of this episode? For me, I thought it had some really good points and some really not so good points. One of the not so good points is the fact that there were so many Z-moves in this episode. There was 13 Z-moves in this episode. Like, it wasn't just they were using a little part of the Z-move, they were using the full animation, and it took quite a long time to get through everybody. When it was the team of 7, that took ages to get through all of their Z-moves. You know, I'm going to go back and watch the episode again. I'm going to work out how much screen time was used for the Z-moves. I'm going to put it about here so you can see how much time was used up by the Z-moves. That being said, the Z-moves were really well animated, although it does feel like we've seen them over and over again, especially the Kiawe and Turtonator Inferno Overdrive one. Good points about this episode is there was lots and lots of action. There wasn't any points where I was thinking the episode was getting boring. There was non-stop action. And another good point is we got to see the return of Ash's Poipole, although now it's evolved into a Naganadel. Hopefully, I'm really hoping that Naganadel stays around for the big battle next week between Ash and Professor Kukui. I mean, the title works perfectly with the episode. Guzzlord Invades, which, yeah, Guzzlord does invade, and a Grand Z-Move Showdown. And yeah, it's a Grand Z-Move Showdown. There is so many Z-moves used in this episode. So I think my final rating for this episode is going to be a 8 out of 10. That's where I'm going to end this episode off. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Comment down below in the comment section. Let me know what you thought of this episode. Do you think they should have used that many Z-moves? Were you surprised to see Ash's Poipole or Naganadel return? And were you surprised to see that Professor Kukui had a Lucario? I was when it came to that. And finally, subscribe to the channel if you are not already. We are bringing one of these episodes every single week. And I'll see you next week where we have Ash vs Professor Kukui.